if we go by the story point method and we are tracking velocity for this particular team, at what points taking up velocity as a metric would make sense, and at what points we have to talk about capacity of a team? Generally when we're talking about team performance, it's velocity, but then how well we can use the capacity metrics as well.
Yeah. See, idea is pretty simple, and we need to see what is the use. And again, this is primarily from the user's perspective. So I would say capacity is something that before I get started, I need to know what I am capable of. Yeah. So say probably I am planning my product first time, and I say, okay, what is capacity? What kind of a capacity I have? So you can say we are going to put 20 people, and then they are going to work for this particular thing for next 6 months. So looking like this, we have a 20 people, 6 months, and this is the capacity we have available. Yeah. So initially, when you don't have any work, you don't have any historical data, any kind of a projection you are going to make it using capacity information. Now, when you start working on, you had a capacity, but actually how much you are able to deliver it, at what percentage of your capacity you are able to work, that you only know when you start working with the people. And once you have that data, gradually you start relying more on your performance data, which is a velocity data, which is your historical data, rather than your capacity data. Yeah. So it's like this. If I keep the software development aside, and somebody will ask, you have a shop, how many customers you can handle in a day? Now someone will say, okay, my capacity is I'm keeping my shop open from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. and I can handle 200 customers. But now it's not necessary that you will be really able to do that. That's your capacity. Now someone will ask, based on your last month experience, how many customers do you handle between 8 to 8? Then he says, based on what I have seen and based on whatever happens and the variability and customer coming as well, that is also variable, and my service time is also variable. On average, we take 70 to 80 customers on a daily basis. So when you calculated initially, when you were designing your shop, when you were designing your manpower, when you were thinking of how should you put a layout, you were focusing on capacity planning. You're saying, okay, we have this much capacity. Once you have that execution going on, you start focusing on performance planning, velocity planning, or what happened in the last month. Now, similarly, you will see in the stages where the product development is at an initial stage, people are just coming and going, they are floating, you don't have a stable team yet, and the understanding of the requirements is also emerging. Usually you see a capacity-based planning. And then over a period of time, when you start seeing that things are getting stabilizing, then you start making size and the performance against size-based planning. So be it a velocity versus story point, be it an ideal days versus velocity in ideal days time, or maybe it's a function point or whatever point you put in. But the idea starts moving to that, okay, how much work we could handle rather than how many hours we were sitting in the office. People start saying that, okay, how much work we could handle last month. And based on that, we need to quantify how much work probably we will be able to handle next month. So that's a more predictable rather than a better, because you have a more information now, and that's why you are doing that. Now, assuming if the shop has been running for 1 year, but the shopkeeper keep planning based on how many hours he's opening the shop and keeping his shop open, then he's not taking input which he's getting from on a daily basis. So similarly, if I as a project leader keep focusing on, no, I have a 20 people and I need to keep planning based on 20 people days available all the time, then I'm not taking the information which is coming to me every month in account. Yeah. So that's the only reason. We are not saying it's a right or wrong, but you are not looking at the information which you have in hand, which can give you, because other than people's time, there are so many things. There are interruptions, there are efficiency things, there are variability in requirement, there is a wait time. So all those things are difficult to predict and estimate. But initially, you just start based on, okay, we have capacity thing.
Okay, got it. So this, I also sense that this much of work may not be required for a service-related project, right?
Yeah, usually not.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Because in a service industry, I do see a requirement of one particular metrics, which becomes quite common.
Mm-hmm.
They call it capacity versus velocity, or velocity versus capacity. So they look at a ratio, so
Mm-hmm.
that, for example, I had 100 working days available in this particular iteration, and how many story points I have done in this
Mm-hmm.
iteration. And that ratio sometimes becomes a little looked after ratio, because in a way it also shows that
Mm-hmm.
on average how many story points are taking how many days, in a way, because you are putting a velocity number which is coming from a stories point sum total. And again, I'm not saying it's healthy or
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy, but I do see in service oriented organization, many do measure capacity versus velocity kind of ratio.